Now I'm just going to kind of ad lib this webinar. I'm going to go cover some of the scans, or try to cover most of the scans that I've either rearranged or put in for this. And we're going to, potentially look for some stocks as we go along. Well, the list is getting longer here. People are starting to arrive now. I guess they're getting tired of watching the market yo-yo. Okay, so when I refer to these, as you know, I am talking about duplicate scans for both the end of day and intraday. Unfortunately, I have to make one for each, just because they contain different information, or different fields, I should say. Now, I sent out another note. I uploaded somehow my files got screwed up. I've been burning the candle at both ends, and just got messed up. And yesterday they were perfectly fine, and then when I uploaded them today, I had several things I had to correct. So I don't know how they got mixed up. But anyway, it's all fixed. My point is, if you installed the add-on early this morning, go through the process again of deleting the quick start, end of day, intraday. These are warehouse views, basic end of day scans, and basic intraday scans. The charts, I really haven't changed anything that I can recall. If I did, it's very minor. And every day when the add-on is updated, and by the way, it's usually up there by 7 a.m., I'll put small fixes in that I won't even really tell you about. So just delete these. Don't worry about the filters or the combos. I just overwrite those automatically, but unfortunately I cannot overwrite the warehouse views or the charting views, so that's why they have to be deleted manually, but it's no big deal. Very easy, very quick and easy. All right, I'm going to work with the intraday, since it is intraday, and most of the changes I've made are the rearranging of these VPA folders, and I've added a few scans, and I'll just go through these, and I think that's probably the best thing to do. So I'm in all securities, and you're familiar with tests for supply. So you can see there are 22 tests in all securities last night, and only 4 of them are green today. And even the ones that are green, China Ceramics, its intraday range is only 22.17 on very heavy volume. So that means it's given up nearly 80% of its intraday range. And this is a little cheap stock, not a good illustration, but it corresponds to this information in here. Let's find one that's a little more expensive here. This is an ADR. You can see that it's holding up better today. It's at 70%, nearly 70% of its daily range. But the volume is light. When you look at this warehouse, you can get a feel for what this stock is doing. It doesn't trade much in the way of volume. The volume point of control is below the 0 line. It hasn't had a signal for a long time, but if you go over here and look at this chart, it says the longer term trend is up, the medium term trend is up, and the short term trend is down. And today it's up. So after a pullback, pretty severe pullback, it is trying to work its way higher. Now this is something that probably would not interest me at all. Not familiar with the stock, but you can see by looking at this on the daily chart that it's getting good support, and every time it seems to pull back. There are buyers stepping up, and we can tell that because these are tests. Here's no supply, no supply. This one is strength seen returning, and it's managed to work its way higher from about 8.5 up to a little over 10. Yeah, it's extremely low volume, Tom. I mentioned that. That's right here in the window, 142. I'm really not interested in that, but I'm just going down the list here. This one just moved up. That's a cheap stock. I'm not going to look at it. This is a stock that has been showing some very good strength over the past, well, since the 1st of October. You can see that it moved up sharply on the weekly chart after a selling climax. This had a double signal on it, stopping volume. I meant stopping volume, and strength seen returning, and that was a great signal on the weekly, and that corresponds over here with these candles and these VPA flags on the daily. So we screen on the daily, but I like to have both charts, the daily here and the weekly over on the left side up and the warehouse view down here. So I get a really nice look at it. But look how beautiful this stock has been. It's gone from approximately 174 up to 229.14 as of the last update about a minute ago. So a nice stock. I wouldn't really chase it right now, but it's possible that it can continue to go a long way. Look at this volume. This is called a volume crescendo. Look at the volume coming into this, and that was in this area right here. Let me see if I can put a frame around this and see where this volume really is. Right in this area as it started to move up. So it was moving sideways here when the volume was low, and then as the volume came into it, it started moving up. So there's some heavy interest in this stock. I've been watching this. I haven't done a darn thing with it though, but it has been appearing in a lot of my scans. Has anybody else noticed this stock? Or did anybody buy it? All right, let me move on with the, I'm not going to put it in the list. It's kind of extended now, but it's a smooth, tight move up. You can see this rounded bottom right here. Here's a test. Here's a confirmation of that test. And John, I know you like to see these two together, but you like to buy them down here. Yeah, and that's great. You know, and speaking of buying down here, you can always buy a limited number of shares, and then as these charts strengthen, you can always add more. You don't have to plunge down here at the bottom, but let me move on. Okay, so what I did here is I just took that same filter, I added this, test for supply in an uptrend, and in this market, that's the only stock that comes up. So when the market settles down, if we ever see a strong bullish move in the near future, I think this will be a very good scan for you, because what I'm looking for here are stocks that have the fan formation or the moving averages, the 18's above the 50, which is above the 100, which is above the 200, and that generally shows strong institutional interest in a stock. So if I go up to chart number 1, bring the flags up, you can see how strong this is, because all of these moving averages are in place, or they're stacked as they should be, is what I should say. And you look over here, you'll see that they're all above the respective moving averages. When the 3 is above the 6, that is a really strong stock, and we're seeing it in this instance. And you can look down here at these expansion contraction windows, and if they're green, this means the 3 is above the 6, and this one means the 6 is above the 18. So a lot of strength here. Here's where the VPOC turned positive also. We also have some pocket pivots. I use that chart a lot, and I use this chart a lot because I like to look at the naked VPA flags without any interference from moving averages and so on. Everybody else has sound, Randy. I think you all have sound, don't you? I don't think you'd be sitting here and letting me get by with anything. Okay, now here is a no supply view. We get 77 of these. Thanks, Steve. And that's quite a few, but not many of them are positive today. This market's doing absolutely nothing. In fact, let me go in here and I didn't want that one. Okay, I'm looking for the percentage up and down today. Doesn't look like I have it loaded. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Somebody's got their microphone open. Here's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we can get in the warehouse, it shows that 20% are up and 80% are down. So that's not good. Let me make sure that all the microphones are closed other than mine. All right. So let's move on down the list. This is not a very good day for bullish stocks, as you can see. Now I added the same thing. Here's no supply and here's no supply in an uptrend with the fan up. So what I'm doing is I am isolating the no supplies, but the fan has to be up, and you can see that all three of these are up. Here's Tesla again. Here's one Daxar Corporation. It doesn't look like this has a fan in it, and looking at the weekly chart, it doesn't look that great either. But if I bring this chart up, you can see that the fan is just forming, and there is a pocket pivot. Medical equipment and devices might be one to watch. Look at this weekly chart, how long it's been under accumulation. And the fan is just starting to form. The VPOC went positive, and here's a pocket pivot. Let's see what the it's another low volume stock. Only 131,000 shares. That is not to say that low volume stocks do not go up. A lot of times they do. If there's more demand than supply, it'll go up. I'm going to wait for this one to come up in additional screens at additional times. Here, let's take a look at this other one. None of these are showing strong volume today at all. On these intraday columns, very important to look at the percentage price change one day, the range, and the 90-day moving average volume comparison. Doesn't look too exciting, does it? Or it looks very exciting. It's a REIT. All right, moving on. Not a single stock passed this view today, an up bar closing near a high after a test confirms strength. That's unusual that you don't see anything. But I'm still in all securities and there's nothing there. Now here's an up bar closing near the high, strength seen returning. I think these are all pretty self-explanatory if you read the titles. If you disagree with me and you need anything changed, I will change them, and of course you would have to eliminate or delete your files again and replace them. But as you found out today, if you haven't done it yet, it's really no big deal. Okay, so let's look at a few of these. I want to sort on raw combo. Now, for those of you who may not know, and I think most of you do, but there may be a couple people on here that do not know what the combo does. I'm going to explain this intraday combo, which I use on all of my intraday files. I'm updating right now. Okay, this is something I call strong momentum intraday effort versus result. And it's very simple. It divides the weighting between all three of the fields that I just pointed out: intraday range, percentage price change, and intraday volume divided by the regular 90-day volume. And what that does is it has a tendency to bring the strongest stocks to the top of the list because it factors in all three of these fields. Yeah, Tom, did you do your update today? Well, what scan was that? I'll go back to it and take a look at it. And make sure that you did you delete all your files before you installed? Yeah, do it again so you don't have to waste time on it. But I know everything's correct now. So just do it again. Okay, where am I here? Strength seen returning, and we have 28 of these. If I click on this, it tells me that 25% of these are up today and 75% are down. This just not a good day for follow through on some of these flags. I'm going to look at Casey's General Store. Wow, look at this. I guess I noticed this the other day. It was going up. It may have made the top 50 group inclusion report. I'm not sure, but this has been a pretty strong or very strong run here on the weekly charts. These Casey's are popping up all over the place. John, we'll talk about this on the Skype board. I don't know why you'd be getting different than I am because all of the filters are automatically replaced when I do an upload. Okay, so this one, couple of huge moves on VPA flags, kind of stalling out a little bit now. The group, kind of hard to see. I just updated. It was coming down, but it looks like it's flat right now. I guess I can do this. Yeah, it's flat right here. I'll just go ahead and use this chart. I don't know what the news was on Casey's. Tom, did you get my email this morning? Well, that's the link. That's what I would be sending you. So it's not going to do any good. So you just have to download that again and reinstall it. Well, that's the correct link. Anybody else on here have a problem? Thank you, Piers. Yeah, that's what it looks like, a beat and a raise. This is an inexpensive stock. Trades good volume. Had a nice run here. Pullback. Strength seen returning. Effort to rise, confirmation of that. It looks like it wants to go higher, but it's the old problem of buying breakouts in this market and getting your head handed to you. Okay, this is up bar closing near high, strength seen returning. That was in there. Here's the effort to rise. Looks like, well, let me do this quickly. That's about a 2/3 and a third, so that's a little bit stronger. There was follow through. Here's effort to rise with a fan up. This is new. So I go from effort to rise of 52 stocks to effort to rise fan up with only 12 stocks. So what that does, the reason I put this in is I want to see stocks that are having an effort to rise. They've already established their trend. So here's your trend. Here's your effort to rise right here. You can tell immediately that this is a pretty loose stock on the dailies. On the weekly, it looks decent though. Looks real good. It's just very choppy in here. What else is choppy? The group. I got an email this morning from Zacks, and even their whole system is based upon earnings upgrade increases, and the email was about how much more influence groups have than earnings have, and I mean that's something we've known all along, and I was glad to see that from them because all they do is generally sell. And when an analyst upgrades their earnings, their theory is that those stocks will outperform over the longer period. But we all know that that the groups and the market, and we're experiencing that now, are really the determining factors, much more so than the earnings. I mean, if you get them all working together, that's great. But I was really kind of surprised to read that email. Okay, so let me get back to this after a little aside there. Now this is something I put in also. Effort to rise with a fan down. John, you like bottom fishing, right? If you did a full update earlier intraday, Paul, is that what you're saying? Yeah, the data would be different because I'm using last night's data. I mean, it's going to change everything because you're using data that has been updated intraday. I always just stick with last night's data. Why? Because I want to see which of the stocks that showed up yesterday are following through today. And if you do, well, let's just take a second to talk about this. If you do an update and you include the intraday data, yes, it's going to change everything. But if you want to revert back to last night, just come in here, make sure you deselect this because you're going to have that selected during your intraday update. And then apply it and then run your update again. And what it's going to do is revert back to last night's data. Okay? And that's really what you want to be working with. Because, for example, the last update signal condition here is an effort to rise. And that's what I want to see if they're following through. Now, this is a good example here. So, this is an effort to rise with the fan down. So the fan is down, and we're getting strength as of yesterday. So this is a midstream partner. And John, you like the bottom fish? This is another bottom fishing scan because the fan is down, the group is down, but what does this tell us in here? This stock has buyers, obviously. We're getting a bunch of VPA flags. And then here's your effort to rise here. This also would have appeared here because the fan is down. Fan is down on all these, but if we're getting an effort to rise like we did here, and we're also getting pocket pivots, that's a pretty good sign that demand is outpacing supply, wouldn't you say? So I want you to play with this and see what you come up with, and make sure there is plenty of demand. Now on this, how many did we get? 22. You can see that of the stocks that have a strong fan downtrend, 6 of them are up and 16 are down today. Most of them are down, but it's worth taking a look at. You can see that I've put some experimental stuff in here, and I just kind of like the concept. Okay, stopping volume. These stocks all had stopping volume yesterday. 22 of them is what I'm showing. Transfer of ownership, 24. These are not new. These have been in here. Now this is a widespread up bar closing near its high in consolidation. Now let's just look at. This would be based upon yesterday's candle, and that's where this is generated. You can see that this stock is showed a widespread up bar closing near its high. If I look at all that is contained in this one line right here, strength down 2, which means absolutely nothing without a description. But it's what Matt, when he gave us direct access to those VPA flags, all of the code is within that single field. And I like this one. Today obviously is not a good day for it, but even though some of these stocks are down, you can go in and obviously take a look at them. Jack, I'm not updating the database. I'm just updating the intraday quotes. So what I'm saying is these signals in any of these screens are generated using yesterday's data. These columns here represent what is happening today. And the reason I set this up and set it up from the beginning this way is I want to see if any of these stocks or which of these stocks are following through based upon yesterday's closing signals. And I would have no way to do that if I couldn't compare the signals, and you can see these were generated last night. If I couldn't compare the signals to what is happening today. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Yeah, I know it's confusing, and I should explain that better, but that's why I do it. And everything is just set up that way. And I think I don't really see any other way to do it. Okay, let's move on here. So those are all single scans and the individual scans, I should say. And the reason I wanted to break these out into folders because there are other uh, signals in there which I have not yet put into filters yet. I'm still going through. This is a time-consuming job, by the way. And what I'll do is I'll just continue to add to these numbers, and I'll probably do some more rearranging and so on. But that's why I split these out into folders. Now, here are 2-day scans bullish. And the last 2 days, you can see effort to rise. And let's see what it's doing today. Well, it's down today, 1.19%. But here are the two signals from the 2 prior days. So this is an example of a stock that it really isn't following through today. It broke out to a new high. The weekly chart looks good, but it's getting rejected today. Doesn't mean it's going to continue, but it's been outperforming its group, which is a good thing. The group is collapsing here. What is this group? Engineering and construction service, building subcontractors. But it's just a slight pullback. Doesn't mean much until it pulls back for, say, 2 or 3 days. So a stock like this could really go into your watch list if it interests you. The volume isn't very good, 227 shares, but there was a big gap up here. I'm sure this is an earnings gap. And as I look at this and we go back in time, look how the volume has changed after this gap. So this is the 90-day moving average volume. If I change that to the 20-day moving average volume, I'm sure we would see a really big increase here. So there's suddenly a lot of interest in this stock, even though the group's going down. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to add this to a group. Okay, 2018, 12, 13. And any other stocks now, if I add more, it'll just I'll just hit my alternate G keys and it'll go in that folder automatically. Okay, let's get this back up here. Low volume test followed by an effort up, not a single stock. Low volume test followed by a confirmation of low volume test, nothing there. No supply followed by effort up. Now, generally, you're going to get some stocks, but this is such a screwy market. I'm seeing a lot of these with very few stocks. So no supply followed by an effort up. Tahoe Resources, I believe. So here is your no supply. Here is followed by an effort up, and it's higher today. It's a cheap stock. The weekly is in a downtrend, or it was, and it reversed. You can see a big stopping volume, a candle right here, and then a confirmation of that. And it's been moving up since. Let's take a look at the longer term on this. Well, it was back in July of, what is that, 16? Been quite a while. It was a $15 stock. And it's been a terrible stock since then. But you can flip through these very quickly. Nothing here either. Strength seen returning after a downtrend confirms return of strength, and there's 26 of these today. Let me check this filter out. See, I've got 2 buy conditions in all of these. Oh, yeah. You mean on the bearish side? Okay, Paul. So you just had to go back to the end of day data. Good. Yeah, I'll get down here. Okay, let's look at a couple of these. I think I pulled this one up already, didn't I? But here are the 2 day signals right here. Now you stick your neck out. Yeah, I talked about that. There's Casey's. I looked at that one. Let's look at Hormel Foods. Now these stocks in packaged food have done well for quite some time. They're defensive stocks, in my opinion. But look at this. It's gone from 34. It's up over $10. But you know that goes back to March of this year. I'm going to do an alternate A. Let's just out of curiosity go from the low. What am I doing wrong here? There we go. Somewhere in there. It's up about 40% approximately over that time period. I don't think with anybody would object to that in 2018, would you? Get rid of that. So this oftentimes, well, all of these screens at different times are good. What you have to do is what Paul does. He screens and then he looks through a bunch of charts, and that's really what you want to do. And you really want to look at the weekly chart in addition to the daily chart. Pay particular attention to the VPA flags and the volume down here. That information on the intraday is over here in this window. On the end of day, you're going to find a very similar chart. Now, we're getting some late arrivals here. Multi-signals bullish. Now, I'm getting 639 stocks here. You may ask why I am getting that many stocks. Well, it's an either-or situation. If the way I set this up, and I've talked about this before, but I think I better review it. If any of these bullish flags occur on either day, then they're going to appear through this screen. So if I look at this one here, well, okay, I did an update again. Strength down 1. This stock, Sim Group Corporation, I don't know anything about it, but the signal was 2 days ago. So what my thinking when I did this was I want to try to catch stocks that either had a flag on the most recent day or the prior day, and then they're going to come to the top of the list based upon this effort versus result combo if the flag appears either day. So I'll take a look at this one. I should probably turn off the updating, but I'm not going to. Whoops, I got the wrong stock now. Here it is. Okay. Now, this is not good if you're a trend follower, or it may be all right if you're a bottom fisher. A lot of heavy volume spikes in through here, and they're mostly red. Now, some of you may not know this. These bars are going to be, volume bars are going to be red if the close is lower than the open. And if the close is higher than the open, the candle is going to be green. So let me zoom in on this one quickly. And this is today. It's generating an effort to rise. This was a flag that I was looking at. This strength down one, strength seen returning. That is what this one is right here. And you can see that it's holding support in here. Some buyers are stepping in. The group started to move up. And here's the flag 2 days ago, and we're getting a confirmation on an effort to rise on a big volume spike. And that volume spike, intraday percent volume to the 90-day moving average volume, is over here. And it's 122% above normal volume. And that normal volume is represented by the blue line in here. So just for fun, I'm going to quick add to group. I'll just use my alternate G key to save time. There's probably no way in the world that I would be buying this stock, but I'm going to see if the accumulation continues. That's a midstream oil and gas. I don't know. Anyway, I put it in there. So out of this list of stocks, 639, if I bring this up, you can see that 25% are positive today and 75 are negative. But the good ones, based upon the combo, they always come to the top of the list. It just saves you a lot of time if you're looking for some potential candidates during the day. Here's a little $3.80 stock. It's trading at 100% of its daily range. Look what we had today on this. What is this? It's another oil. It's an oil and gas services and equipment. This is the third day of stopping volume. 3 out of 4 today. It's strength seen returning after a downtrend. You can see the 2 stopping volume signals in here. But that happened 1 day ago. I didn't mention this. I'm sorry about that too. If it's a 0, it happened yesterday and the prior day. If it happened 1 day, if it says 1 in here, it happened the prior 2 days, and you can see that showed up right there. But if you're doing this intraday, just look at the top stocks, and especially look at the ones that, as you get late into the trading day, where we are now, that are holding up. Or if their intraday percent range is holding up near the top end. Generally 90% or better is what I like to see. Here's application software. Anybody familiar with this one? It was an IPO back at the first of the year, it looks like. Unless I'm not seeing the whole thing here. I'm not seeing the whole thing. Good thing I brought it up. Anyway, it's been a strong downtrend. You can see that it's been basing, been under accumulation, trending sideways since May. And then it started moving up here, and that was in October. It's been moving up. The group's been moving down. Let's go up to the top just for a minute. It's got a pocket pivot today. The volume point of control is going up. It gapped down. So evidently there could have been some news to cause this opening gap down, but now it's closing at it's 15 minutes away. Yeah, it's going to close near its high. Quick add to group. Going to watch that one. Sim group already looked at. Okay, I got to get going here. Okay, now if you want to cut your list down considerably, same list but the fans up. So what I do, I went from 639 stocks to 77. If the fan's up and if the stocks are up, that's a pretty good combination because you are seeing stocks. Well, look at this fan. It meets all the criteria, but it doesn't look like it's going up, does it? It's just going sideways. But the fan, the moving averages are all stacked in the correct order. I just really don't like to buy Chinese stocks. I know Paul does. Just kidding. But this really cuts the list down considerably. Now here's a nice setup. Have we looked at this one already? Yeah, I didn't mean it, Paul. I know you hate him as much as I do. I'm going to add this one to the group too. It's GOL. It's an airline. Somebody mentioned this one earlier today, TC, I believe. And, this is a sloppy weekly chart, but it looks like it's breaking. It broke, or it's right at breaking past resistance. Put a crosshair on it. It's right at resistance right now. Okay, thanks, Paul. I don't know. Application software, the volume's fair. Look at all these pocket pivots here. Somebody's been buying this thing. I'm going to hit alternate G. I'm going to add it. I obviously don't have time to run through all these. When I'm not talking, I can go through a lot of charts in a hurry. Church and White has been a nice stock. Look at this. Did anybody catch this one? Another one of those consumer staples. When they start appearing, you think to yourself, consumer staples, they're not going to go anywhere. And in this market environment, it's been great for these stocks. Okay, let me continue. This is a bottom fishers. This was in here before. I'm just going to go over this very quickly, show you a chart. Here's the bingo. This is something Ian came up with. The relative strength has really turned poor, and that's when this gray line is generated. And then what I'm looking for, what I did is I combined that with VPA signals. And it does a pretty good job of finding stocks near the bottom. They don't always go very far. I mean, several weeks ago, found Netflix that way and traded it. I can't remember what else I traded that way, but it's an interesting scan, but it's also can be very deceiving too, because every time a VPA flag is generated, even within the oversold area, it doesn't mean that it's going to go up. You're not going to get stopped into a stock like this anyway if it keeps going down. But it's just something to look at. I usually will not touch them until they, let me put it this way. I've never bought one that's still in the gray area. I always wait for the white to appear, and then if I'm going to take a position, that's when I'll do it. Don't do it in here. Well, that's a negative. I'm looking for bullish flags. This I would have considered because it turned white. That's a negative signal. This has turned white, so I would have considered it here too had I seen it. I don't know anything about this stock either, but that's the way I'm interested in doing these. Let's take a quick look at this. Real estate services. Yeah, pocket pivots are excellent. If you get a pocket pivot at the same time, let's see if I have that screen in here. No, I don't. I do, but in Gill's scans, I have a pocket pivot version of it. I just look at this one though with the VPAs, and then use this chart number 1 to look for pocket pivots as a confirming indicator because it shows you when buyers are really stepping up to the plate. Okay, these are ETFs. I'm not going to spend any time on those. These are the bearish scans. Is this the one you want to do? Piers, which one did you suggest? One of these? Number 2 here. Well, you can. Well, these are bearish. I'm not going to go through these, but these are bearish signals with a fan down. That cuts this in half from this. This is 455. There's 455 in here if you look up here at this number. And this second one down, the flag, the reason the number is less is because the fan, these stocks that pass this filter have to have a downtrend or a fan down, and this one does not. This one is just based upon the VPA signals, and this one requires a fan down. So there are fewer stocks that have a. Yeah, I know you were, Piers. And a lot of them are showing up. I mean, we're in a bear. Speaking of that, before I finish, I've got a couple of polls. I just want to find out how people feel about the market, and I'll do that very quickly. Okay, so let's get out of these. Now, what I did is I added a few scans in here. And this one's been in here, intraday gap, up greater than 2%. This is one you want to run in the morning, 5-10 minutes after the market opens, and see which stocks are gapping up. 64 gapped up today. This is an intraday bullish reversal of 2% off of the low of the day. And you can see that there was 249 stocks that moved up 2% off their daily lows. And if you want to find the ones that have a fan up, there's 48 that moved up 2% from the lows. And, there's a lot of green here. So even in a crappy market like this, you can find stocks that moved up 2% off of their daily low, and that would have been at the open right here. And this is using all of these intraday scans that I'm showing you, the ones I've shown you so far, are using the intraday data today. I mean, the current data is what I should say. But you have to have your files updated from yesterday. And the reason you have to is because it has to compare yesterday's data to the intraday data today. I hope that makes sense. But just make sure you update your current either at night or in the morning. This is a decent bullish screen for intraday. Now I added this one. What I'm looking for is I only want to look at stocks that are trading. I told you I like to look at the intraday range. I only want to look at stocks, especially later in the day, that are holding up above 80%. I think I said 90 before, I meant 80, that are above 80%, or they're currently in their intraday range at 80% or above. I think I already looked at that one. Let's look at a different one here. So this is obviously a fan down here, but here is a stock that's reversing here. And what is its intraday range? It's at 99.98%. We're going into the close. What does that tell you? It tells you that people are buying it. It's an oil and gas services and equipment. Here's a semiconductor manufacturer. It shows me, well, I guess I could look at the chart here. Let's just go to chart number 4. It shows me that it's at 93.33% of its daily range, and this is a little stock that's under accumulation too. It's in a strong, severe downtrend. May not go anywhere, but we're getting an effort to rise today. Let's go quickly back to this chart. Notice that there's a pocket pivot. You can quickly flip back and forth between the charts that you use, but I like this scan. Now, to eliminate a bunch of these stocks and pay attention only to stocks with a fan up, you click on that and notice how it cuts it down from 78 to 11. And these stocks are all trading above 80% of their daily range, and they're obviously all green for today. So I want you to play with some of these. This is a decent looking stock here. I'm going to put it in my portfolio, my watch list. I guess I should show the let's go back to this one and let's look at the weekly chart also. Well, nice looking weekly chart. So I'm sure you can find something in here if you're interested in trading late in the day. There's a GOL again. Here's Yum. Here's Tesla. But the point is, in this market, well, it looks like the NASDAQ futures are going to be slightly positive for the day going into the close. But these stocks are stocks that are in pretty strong trends that are holding up, and they're holding most of their gains for the day. And that was my thinking behind creating this one. Now I want to show you one more thing, and then I'm going to do a quick poll. These are all in here. This one I just put in today. These are leaders within 5% of their 52-week high based upon last night's data. So they're also $15 and above stocks. If you want another one, $15 and below, I can certainly put it in a hurry. But these are leading stocks. I follow a CanSlim board, and they're always looking for the leaders and so on. And I thought, well, that shouldn't be too tough to just come up with the leaders. And if you look across here, you're going to see that the percent close to the 52-week high. These numbers don't show anything more than 5% away from the 52-week high. Here's Procter & Gamble. As of last night, it was 0.9% or 0.9% away from the 52-week high, and the 52-week high date was back on the 4th. And today, with the raw combo, it is very strong. As you can see, it has broken past resistance. And here is the weekly chart. It's really a very simple filter. But what it does is it goes into the database and it pulls out stocks. And I use the 21-day moving average volume on here just for shorter term volume. And the other characteristic has to be an RS of 80 or above, but you can see $15 trading 500,000 shares, and this minus 5% close to the 52-week high greater than or equal to minus 5. So this is going to give you a list of leading stocks every day, and if you want to trade leaders, you're going to find some good candidates in here. And look at this. These leaders today, and the market, actually the NASDAQ futures are negative now. I can't keep up with them today. But look at these leaders. Money poured in, or continues to pour in, to the leaders. Over, 71% were up, and only, about 29% were down. So that's a pretty good indication that these leaders are continuing to lead. Now, what we want to look at here is I want to go into the industry and to know. Yeah, sure, Tom. This is what I do. I mean, what else would I do? Yeah, got to keep my mind active, don't I? Anyway, REITs, integrated utilities, utility networks, packaged food is in here. This shows you what the leaders are, current leaders are in the market based upon that filter. I think it's worth looking at every day, and I think it's worth looking at intraday every day. So, I want to do one more thing, and if I can find this, let's do these quick polls here. I'm going to launch polling. And I want to know, are you bullish or bearish in the short term? And how about for 2019? Well, short-term bearish wins out. I can understand that. I feel the same way, but one thing about being bullish or bearish, you really can't get locked into it too much. Because if you have an opinion, a very strong opinion, and if it starts to move in the other direction, you're just not going to participate. That's all there is to it. So what you have to do is you have to look for charts that are setting up on the bullish side or the bearish side. But in this instance, there's so much bearishness in this group, and I think this is probably representative of most people, that you need to have a list of bullish stocks that are setting up. And I have shown you several screens today, and a lot of them showed stocks that are moving right now. And those are the ones you should be looking at. Now, for 2019, nearly 60%, 58 to 42. That's probably about right. Okay, well, thanks for doing that. I was curious. I hope you're interested in that too. It's just to get a good way to okay, I guess I don't need to share those results anymore. All right. Well, thank you. Any questions before I go? I'm probably not going to get this out until tomorrow. I have to go help my nephew do something, and also, if you're a women's volleyball fan, Nebraska and Illinois play at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time in the Final Four, and Stanford and BYU play the early match, and there's some really good athletes there if you enjoy volleyball. So I'll be doing that this evening. All right, well, thanks a lot. I doubt if we'll do another one of these before the holidays, before Christmas, but I'll do another one in December. I'm going to try to maybe pick out a few of these scans that I like the best and concentrate on those. And we'll discuss that, and we'll do some prospecting, more prospecting next time. I won't. I don't think I'll be doing any more creation of scans and so on. I've got more than enough to live with. But anyway, I'm going to try to sort some of these out. I'm going to show you some other tricks in HGSI and so on. All right. Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas if I don't see you online before then. I guess it's still a ways away. This is only the 13th. So anyway, thanks a lot for listening, and be careful in this crazy market. Thanks a lot. Bye.